Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today we discuss if you should be arrested for storming a court after a basketball game. Why are we talking about this? Well, if you guys missed it, I'm sure you didn't. Wake Forest pulled off an upset over Duke this past weekend, which was considered to be like the biggest win for them this season. It was a win that if they would have lost that game, it would have made their case to get into the NCAA tournament a lot harder for them to get into. So the fact that they win, if they kind of take care of business, do what they need to do the rest of the season, they should be able to be an at-large bid for the tournament, which is pretty big for Wake because they haven't. It's been a while since they have been good at basketball or even been good enough to make the NCAA tournament. So they win last weekend and then beat Duke, which was like I think they're 8 or 9 in the country. And after the game, as we'll show you the video here in a second, there's basically a big controversy that happened where the Wake fans were storming the court, and Duke's best player, Filipowski, was walking off the court and then kind of collided with a few different Wake fans and then appeared to be hobbled and then appeared to limp off the court and had to be kind of helped carried off the court. And that sparked a number of discussions all over social media with reporters and fans. And there's kind of like this divide right now is like ban court storming or allow it and regulate it. So we'll go ahead. I'll play Jay Bilas here. I think he goes pretty extreme with his point of view here on First Take, where he says that fans should get arrested if they court storm. So we'll go ahead, play this clip here, and then we will discuss.
However, in college, Saturday's Wake Forest win over Duke, getting the Demon Deacons closer to an NCAA tournament bid, was overshadowed by Wake fans storming the court. Duke star Kyle Filipowski hobbled and helped off the court following a collision with a fan. You can see it right there. Here's Duke's head coach John Shire postgame.
Disappointed we lost. But look, for me, I'm more concerned about the well-being of our guys. You know, Flip sprains his ankle. When are we going to ban court storming? Like, when are we going to ban that? Like, how many times does a player have to get into something where they get punched or they get pushed or they get taunted right in their face? And it's a dangerous thing.
I absolutely feel like it was.
Can I say that about John Shire there? They're really 99% of the time this happens. We typically there's typically not an incident. Most of the time, people get off the court. Are there taunting and stuff going on? Sure, absolutely. As long as like there's nothing vulgar, no sort of like physical like threats or anything, I'm completely okay with it because if you're saying like get rid of taunting, you're saying like get rid of fans, and it's like they're going to do that in the stands anyway. It doesn't matter if they're on the court or not. So, but as far as like he's acting like every time there's a court storming, somebody gets hurt. That's just truly not the case.
It was personal, intentional for sure. Like I said, there's no reason where they see a big guy like me trying to work my way up the court and they can't just work around me. There's no excuse for that.
At Mid-American Energy, we're one.
Can I say that too? I'll respond to that while this ad plays. To that point there from Filipowski, I do think there's like two trains of thought for that. It's like, yeah, it would be more nicely if like fans, could like kind of see you and like work their way around you. I also think too, you also have to do the same. If you expect fans to do that, you have to do the same. And I don't think you were trying to avoid the fans. I think if anything, I don't think you were like trying to like start anything, but I definitely think you could have done a better job of like, slowly walking off, or, other people say like, hey, you're the only dude on the court. Everyone else was off. Like, why were you the only dude on the court? So I don't necessarily like that there. And the idea that it was intentional, that is absolute BS. That is absolute BS. I've watched that video 100 different ways. I've watched all the different angles. It looked completely unintentional. It looked completely unintentional. I don't think Wake fans were trying to hurt you on the court. I don't think they were trying to do that at all. And also too, we'll get this here in a little bit too, because they're going to have on the graphic here, they're going to bring up the Caitlin Clark incident too. They're going to say both of them were injured. First off, Caitlin Clark, she did, people think that like Filipowski kind of like, exaggerated a little bit. People also think that Caitlin Clark exaggerated walking off the court after her incident with the fan. I think with Caitlin Clark, she got the wind knocked out of her. And because just like as someone that's had the wind knocked out of them before, that's exactly like what it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like with her. With Filipowski, I mean, it remains to be seen if he'll miss any time, but Caitlin Clark didn't miss any time after her incident, and I don't think Filipowski is going to miss any time too after this incident. And there's even confusion of kind of like what he even injured, because John Shire said sprained ankle, and then there's other people that are saying sprained knee. So it's kind of a little bit of a confusion. I think he'll be completely fine for the next game that the Blue Devils play. So anyway, we'll play this Jay Bilas clip here because now this is where Jay gives his thoughts. Oops.
Jay, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. And Jay, want to dive right in here. Tell me this. Why do you feel so strongly that it's time to do away with the fans storming the court?
Well, Molly, it's not that I feel strongly that it's time. It's been time for a long time. And we actually discussed this a few weeks ago on College Game Day. And my thing wasn't necessarily ban court storming. It was just the idea that fans don't belong on the court ever. And players don't belong in the stands. It's a pretty simple proposition. But, the NCAA and the member institutions will say the player safety is number one. There's nothing more important than player well-being. But that's simply not true because they're continuing to allow this. And in fact, they're encouraging it. And the truth is, we're encouraging it in the media. We put court stormings at the end of every highlight when there's an upset. We're encouraging it. And even though it's banned in the SEC and they have to pay a $100,000 fine on the first offense, and then it goes up to $250,000 or $500,000, whatever it is, the institutions are happy to pay it because they like the visual. They like having that, to take pictures of it, to show it. Here's how passionate we are, and here's what we're about, that kind of stuff. And it just didn't, take a genius to say that something's going to happen. And when it does, let's not act surprised. This is not only foreseeable, it's inevitable. And we've had significant injuries over this in the past, to fans especially. And nothing really changes. But the truth is, nothing's going to change now. We're going to talk about it. It's going to go away, and nothing's going to change. And if they wanted to stop it, they could stop it.
Also, I've listened to a lot of content about this. No one's been giving me specific examples of people getting injured in these court stormings. I haven't gotten anything significantly. He said significantly there. Give us some examples. I didn't hear any.
Tomorrow, the administrators will tell you that security experts tell them that it's not a good idea to try to stop the court storming, that could cause more problems than it would solve. But you don't have to stop the court storming. One time, all you have to do is once they're on the court, don't let them off. Just say you're all detained and give them all citations or arrest them if you want to. And then court stormings will stop the next day. There's no accountability for this. The fans feel like it's an entitlement. And the universities like it, and the truth is we like it. Now, one last thing on this. Years ago, when fans would run out on the field or on the court during a game, it was network policy not to show that because we didn't want to encourage it. About the way we in the media use these images now, we can't deny that we encourage it, or at least tacitly approve of it. And everybody has to accept some responsibility for this. I don't think it's the right thing to allow this, but I know that it's going to continue. This is not going to stop.
Jay.
Okay, so that is what Jay Bilas had to say there on First Take. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit here because there's a lot of things there they had to say. First off, I'm not necessarily the biggest defender of court storming. If we wanted to ban it, I would be completely in favor of it. I'd be like, okay, sure, we can do that. Because I've always thought that hey, it is kind of like a tricky thing of hey, we're going to push all of these people into this small area. And it's just we're kind of waiting for something bad to happen. So I'm not necessarily the person that's ban court storming, all this stuff because it's terrible. And I'm not really that person, but I'm also not a defender of hey, we need to have court storming there. And it's a part of the game and all that stuff. I'm really kind of neutral on that part of it. With that being said, though, there's no way that you can stop this. There's no way that you can stop this. You're telling me that you're going to stop, this is probably the biggest win that Wake has had in let's say 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, whatever. You have 9,000 college students. hyped up off of adrenaline from a win, watching their school win, probably a majority of them, if not a good portion of them, inebriated on, alcohol or something else. Like you're telling me that like you're going to be able to stop like 9,000 kids from storming a court. He made the point there of like, well, you know what you need to do is you just need to detain all of these people and then you got to give them citations. Okay. The weird thing about that though is like Jay Bilas is a lawyer, so you'd wish that like he would give you more of like a background here. So what are you saying there? Because I don't think there is any sort of law of trespassing on any sort of like court. So I think you'd have to make that a law if that were the case, and then you would have to like have enough people to like surround that area, and like that just seems like a huge mess on its own right. I actually think it would be easier to try and prevent them from getting on the court in the first place than to detain people, because to give out like let's say like 3,000, that might be a low number of citations, that just seems like absolutely like crazy. And it's just I just don't think that like the one way that we could that we'd have to uh ban this would be if there would be like a malice at the palace situation. That would be the only way I could think that we could actually do something. It would have to get that ugly, and then everyone be like, hey, we got to go ahead and do this because it's just getting this crazy. Now with this incident here, getting back to that, I don't think Wake Forest had a plan at all. I do not think they had a plan at all, because usually these teams, these schools have plans for this stuff where they will get out. You could say, hey, it's kind of like, pointless to have all the people with the rope and creating this border. And like these people could obviously, barrel over them if they wanted to. But I don't think those people actually want to. I think those people just wanted to go and like get into a mosh pit at center court and, have a good time. I don't think they wanted Filipowski there at all. Absolutely not. And if you kind of watch that thing there, like there is no one on the court, personnel wise, it looks like for Wake trying to prevent, trying to get a clear path for the players and the staff to get off the court or get them, into the locker room. Maybe they have a little bit there, but to get them off the court, there was clearly nothing, because you had to have like a Duke like manager or whoever that might have been there. Maybe it was a coach, I'm not sure. Have to go and kind of get Filipowski out of there or help him get out of there. So I do think like these universities or even conferences have to like be a little bit more organized in this stuff. Because if you want the NCAA to do anything, do you know how many things are ahead of the NCAA's things of like what fans want them to do, what they need to do ahead of court storming? Maybe like 117 different things. So if we're waiting the NCAA to do something, that's just not going to happen. So the conference would have to do it. And he said to the point, it's like, well, the SEC does ban it and they do fine people. It doesn't stop them. They don't have the financial incentive to not do it. And I don't know if there is a certain way. And even too, if let's say you did do the citations thing, I still don't know if that would work. Because then too, it's like how many officers you're going to have there to give out those citations? Do most of these small college universities have that manpower to even do that? So I just think that's completely stupid. I think this is a stupid argument by Jay Bilas here. I understand why he's making it, wanting player safety, but I think the more realistic possibility here, and I think the more fair take, is to just say, hey, Wake dropped the ball on this. They did not prepare for this at all. And I think that was really like the problem here too. And I don't think any of it was intentional. I think if anything, maybe Filipowski maybe would have exaggerated that ankle, knee injury, whatever it is, a little bit. I don't think he's going to miss any time. And I just think we need to, because like we've had a bunch of other court stormings this year and nothing's happened, and things have actually just went perfectly smooth and nothing's went wrong. And that's what happens 99% of the time. So I just think kind of complaining about this, saying you're going to arrest people, I think that's definitely going a step too far. I just think we need to, whether it's the conferences, whether it's just individual universities, they need to do a better job getting people off the court. And I also think too, players too, I also think have to be in a way mindful of it, too, because it's like we've had, trust me, I've been a part of field stormings. There's still a lot of times there's still players on the field of the same team, the team that's hosting it, and the team that's that just got beat. And 99% of the time, guys, if not 99.9% of the time, those players get off without anything bad happening to them. Anyone harassing them, anyone hitting them, 99.9% of the time. This is one of those times where that didn't happen. So there you have it, guys. This video went a lot longer than I thought it would. If you got this far into the video, thank you very much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you like this video, if you like this content. We like talking NBA, college basketball, college football, NFL stuff, a little bit of baseball stuff too. We've been talking about recently as they're getting ready for the season. So if you like content like that, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps support the show, really helps us boost up in the algorithm. So thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.